I'm Charlotte McLeod with investingnews.com, and here today with me is Yvonne Blaszczyk, President and CEO of BMG Group. Thank you so much for being here. Great to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Really good to be speaking with you. Good to have you back. And I think it's the perfect time to be talking because we just saw gold hit a new all-time high, over 2,500 per ounce. And one of the topics we covered in our previous conversation all the way back in February was the East-West divide when it comes to gold. So with gold's all-time high in mind, I'm wondering if you could talk about whether people in the West are starting to wake up to what's going on in gold.
Some people in the West are already woken up to the fact that we are entering a new era in terms of a not only financial system, but new renaissance or era rebirth of gold as a currency, as money. At the same time, we are facing a reality is more and more pronounced. I don't know how many people can appreciate that. There is a profound shift from west to east in everything. Economic development, trade, financial systems, and of course, that impacts the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. So yes, definitely there is a lot of coverage in the media. I do believe that many people cannot move from the old paradigm yet. They still see gold in a sort of a different way. They don't appreciate the role of gold in a monetary and financial system. Also in trading agreements, international trades, they are going to be extremely critical. I mean, gold is going to be extremely critical for those trade agreements. And those trade agreements will impact, of course, everything that we know today dramatically. I think the incredible meteoric rise of gold in recent months, it's the best indicator in terms of what is happening around us. I think we are so preoccupied. Everyone is so preoccupied with the local politics, with the local environment. We don't see the entire world, the entire picture, almost like we never look beyond the pond to see what is really going on. And there are profound changes occurring every day, and they are not reflected in the day-to-day news to the degree that would educate people or make them a search or notice what is coming and what is happening currently.
I think you're so right about that, where people really tend to focus on what's right in front of them and they miss the big picture. And one of those big picture topics that I wanted to touch base with you on is the BRICS. We had a really good conversation last time about what's going on with the BRICS and how that impacts gold. And we're coming up on another BRICS meeting, I believe, in October. So I'm wondering what people should be paying attention to as we get closer to that meeting.
I think everyone should be very interested in what's happening with BRICS. There are almost around 30 countries waiting to become members of BRICS. Currently, BRICS, as you know, has in terms of a population, pretty much a 1/3 of the world population, 45% of territory, and almost a over 40 in upper 40s percent oil production. So that's very, very significant. Now, what is more significant, not only the number of countries, but where they are located. The geographic location is very critical. So you're talking about Asia Pacific, Africa, Middle East, you're talking about South America. In some ways, we are surrounded. Our Western system is pretty much surrounded by the new emerging reality by those alliances. And I think what we have to pay attention to, not only in terms of the political and some, flashpoints all over the world in terms of conflicts, but we have to take a look at all the individual countries, what they represent in terms of as their trading partners, what they represent in terms of opportunities or lost opportunities for the West, or divided opportunities, because many of them will make arrangements both with BRICS and also with the West. Nonetheless, suddenly there's a huge competition of emerging countries, emerging economies, that they are right now together created alliance that is in pretty much a huge competition for the Western system, particularly US and US dollar as a reserve currency. I do believe that US dollar, of course, will exist, but that competition will have an impact that maybe not right away visible in the financial systems, but definitely will be a long-term and lasting impact. BRICS countries right now, today, I mean, a few days, well, right now, just recently, as we are sitting here, Azerbaijan is joining BRICS. They officially apply for the membership. And while they were applying for membership, they sign all sorts of agreements, trade agreements, commercial agreements, and other things, and that will impact, of course, hugely our alliances, our systems. One of the huge things is, as you know, there is a conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia. And Azerbaijan also is very closely related to Turkey and to as a Turkish support. So that's going to be very significant for BRICS countries to have those alliances formalized. Now they are going to be building oil tankers together. What does it mean? That some of the pipelines that are currently under the conflict territory with Ukraine are going to be perhaps a not that critical, that important. And something else I was going to mention: the current, just recent developments in a Russian-Ukraine conflict on the border actually is impacting or will impact and is a huge danger to the current pipeline that is supplying oil to Hungary and Slovenia, which will in fact affect the perhaps from imploding from inside European Union, because winter is coming, and that's a huge problem. So the tankers will not be built overnight, of course. So there's going to be a lot of a different situation occurring. Russia is paying Ukraine for having their oil moved to their country, but still there are conflicts there. There are disagreements. There are payments issues. There's all sorts of things that are mixed together. So it's a very complicated situation. So at the end of the day, the impact of this situation is going to be on our financial system and on gold specifically. Gold is going to be emerging more and more to the top as a most shiny prospect in all the areas. Not only gold is money, and I think I mentioned before, gold has been money for 5,000 years. There is no other currency that has been in use for that long, particularly fiat currency. Now, the BRICS countries are de facto are using a gold standard. They're backing the local currencies in gold. The trades are happening in gold. Gold has not been touched by sanctions, and because it's impossible. So the gold producers, major ones, are also members of BRICS. So what will occur? The question is, are we going to go to gold standards as well? Or are we going to have some sort of a dual system or the tier system? We don't know. There's a lot of predictions, but I think the most important is that minds of everyone, economists, politicians, do not move towards understanding what's happening globally. They're looking in a very narrow with a very narrow vision. They are still living in the old paradigm. They said, oh, interest rates, those things affect gold. But they don't look. The interest rates or the elections, they only affect us here. They do not affect the entire world. But politically, those elections will have an impact. And those political consequences of who is elected and what is their platform economically and foreign affairs will have a lasting and dramatic impact. And the way things are looking this year, it looks like we are looking at several things. Typically, U.S. elections have some minimal impact on gold. When usually Democrats because of their social policies and everything else, they gave a push for the upward push for the gold price. But now, when you really examine the proposed plan for economy, for growth, for everything else, that may be totally different, and maybe that is not even important because the global forces are going to shape really the price of gold. Um, what will happen internationally? The world is divided and is in more and more divided. There are more and more flashpoints happening. So, what is the safety for people to maintain their existence? And I'm not talking about wealth. People do misunderstand wealth. They think wealth is some kind of a huge, having a yacht and some mansion. For most people, wealth is to have their house, to be able to have a recent, a decent amount of comfort, for them to be able to buy groceries at the reasonable price, for them to have a gasoline at the reasonable price, and have a quality of life. So maintain. How do you maintain that in a system where all your life savings may be in jeopardy? Maybe the world is going to change so much that we will not be able to have the purchasing power as we have right now with our money, with our earnings. So average person has to be interested in gold as well, and it is happening. I see more and more interest. I see more and more people want to have exposure to gold. Um, Whether it is in buying physical gold, buying coins, buying some other um, um, gold products, or even buying mutual funds like ours that they are backed 100% by gold or by silver, by the precious metals, because it is a way to get under the umbrella of not only preserving wealth but security.
I think that's very true where people think about preserving wealth and they think that's for people who have a lot of money or a lot of assets and they don't think if they don't have that much that they need to do that. So maybe that's an interesting topic to talk a little bit more about how people, even if they don't have a huge amount of money or assets, how can they protect themselves in this environment that we see coming?
This is the people that really have to protect themselves, because people that they are all very, very wealthy, they are diversified. For them, it doesn't matter if they lose a percentage of their wealth. They're still going to be, eating caviar and drinking champagne every day. But the average person, if they cannot afford to buy gas, or if they buy gas, they cannot afford buy heavy, steaks for dinner, or they cannot afford vacation for their children, or they cannot be unable to send their children to university. That's a problem. That's going to be and I hear people feel a real squeeze in terms of the prices. And that means the purchasing power of their money is diminishing every single year, every single month now. Last time when we spoke, it was February, March. The gold price was $2,200 would change, 250. Now it's over $500. That's huge. So imagine, go back another year, 2 years, when the gold was $1,000, and the gold is going up and up. And I do believe that we are going to reach a $3,000 mark very soon, perhaps by the end of this year. There was a lot of predictions, but people are afraid to be bold in their predictions. So everybody's hovering around the same number. Or people go really, totally, and they say, okay, it's going to be, I don't know, $20,000 or 10,000 or 50,000. Yes, it will be at some point, but not tomorrow and not in the next 2 months. All the flashpoints in the world, all the conflicts, that kind of we got accustomed to them. It's not a shock anymore. We are not shocked anymore with anything that is happening. So much happened in the last couple of years, both politically and economically, that is not the shock value that usually makes people look at gold is no longer there. Right now is a pure reason. Gold is going up in value. Gold has a shelf life and the durability more than anything else in the world, and gold is money. And every person in a society can have gold. can have exposure to gold. All they have to do just pay attention. But people are preoccupied with all different things. They go when you go on any kind of social media or internet, you have all those sensations going on. People are more interested in the life of movie stars than in their own bank account. So this is the reality. Our society is somewhat regressing uh, away from looking at where do they fit, how do they want to see themselves and their lifestyle, how they want to see their life unfolding in the future in this environment, in this paradigm that is here right now, and is very different than ever before. And there are different forces, and those forces are not apparent. There's many deals and trade agreements being made behind the scenes that we are not aware of. They will impact us and our pocketbook, and of course, our systems. The other thing that I think with BRICS is the alternative financial money transfer system to SWIFT. And I think I mentioned that before, the 2014 and 15, both China and Russia developed systems that are competing with SWIFT. And those systems are being used. Will they become dominant? I don't know, but it all depends how many countries will join those alliances. And eventually, economic alliances, political alliances become a military alliances, which is another, I think, factor that we need to consider when we are looking at investment, at our survival, and our prosperity, because that's very important. And prosperity is not only financial prosperity. I think with the financial security, we prosper emotionally, mentally, spiritually, health wise. So it's a very big picture. When people are stressed and they have issues and the pressure, financial pressures, that's when everything else is affected. And I think gold is a solution. I think not only gold, silver as well. Silver is kind of I mentioned before, sleeping beauty, waiting for its day in the sunshine. But gold, because of its monetary value, because it being money, being historically perceived even as wealth, it I think in North America we don't understand gold. In other countries, people understand gold, the gold being part of their culture. And I'm not talking about ceremonial gold. I'm talking about actually gold as a preserving their financial well-being and the security at the family level, not just broader. So as the politicians are going to at some point, I think about that. How do they protect their own countries? How do they protect their own financial system? And they be turning to gold.
I think all that really makes a lot of sense. And I want to go back to the Fed a little bit because you'd mentioned earlier in the conversation, usually when we're talking about gold, we talk about the Fed, we talk about interest rates, and that's kind of becoming less important now as other factors take over. But I did want to check in with you on your outlook for inflation, because that's something that I think impacts everyday people that they should be considering when they're trying to prepare. So, what do you see coming in terms of inflation?
I do believe that there'll be another rate cut, and it will be probably quite significant. And the rate cuts are many times associated with with elections and other things. But I think what is happening, there's a huge fear of recession, and that's something that Fed will have to take a look at. So the rate cut, will that solve the current problems, or that is too little, too late? And that's something to consider. I think it's too little, too late. I think um, it will help definitely, but it will have more kind of uh, uh, the impact will not be as significant as they would like it to be.
Okay, and I also want to go over to silver. So you mentioned silver being like a sleeping beauty, which I think is a great term for it. So talking about the outlook for gold, 3,000 is perhaps coming up next after 2,500, maybe this year, maybe not, we'll see. So what is your price outlook for silver if that's what's coming for gold?
This is actually very, very interesting. Right now it's around $29. I'm talking in US dollars in terms of the pricing. Um, I think silver has a, as you know, huge industrial application. Silver has and that industrial application will drive the prices of silver. There is a relationship between silver and gold, which somewhat right now is not as strong as it used to be. But I do believe that silver will definitely go up in price. Some people predict that silver will supersede gold someday, one day. Uh, the silver is mostly used for industrial application or for jewelry. Uh, as much as silver is also money, I think I somewhere I read it a long time ago that the founding fathers in the United States, they also foresaw one currency in gold and silver. They never thought that they will have a copper, paper, and all those kind of things. They will be significant enough. Now we are here with this. So silver is money as well. As a money, it will have its place. I prediction for silver, I would like to see silver around $40 an ounce sometime next year, maybe more. It all depends what will happen to gold. And also, they call silver a poor man's gold because of the lower price. So I would suspect what I see the buying trends in terms of silver. A lot of people buy silver because they can afford it. They can afford buying more silver. And if you buy a lot of thousands of ounces of silver and the price dramatically increases, you can actually do very well on that. So, but in the physical world, we also have a mutual fund backed with silver as well. So I see that people are waking up to it. I think the sentiment towards gold have changed in this year. The change was mostly because media was focusing on gold, and doesn't matter what was the context of it. The fact that was gold was up in front of everyone. Silver has not been. I'm seeing recently more and more information on silver, predictions, articles, analysis, but it is still not at the same level as gold. But definitely we have to very closely look at the demand for silver. And not demand for jewelry, but demand both as an investment and also as the industrial for easy industrial applications.
Yeah, and I think that ties into another question that I was thinking of just as you're talking. So, of course, each person is different, but we have gold in the spotlight right now, silver not so much in the spotlight. Maybe it's going to come there eventually. How should people divide their portfolios between gold and silver? What are some points that people should consider as they try to balance that?
You see, I cannot really give the financial or investment advice, but my own opinion that should be followed with the financial advisors that are aware of the role of gold and silver, because that's very, very important. So people are appreciating its value. I can tell you about myself. I have definitely in my own portfolio significant amount of silver as much as I have gold, because I'm looking at the leveraging the low price of silver vis-a-vis the number that I have, or number of ounces that I would have, and I feel that it is very important to have a significant portion of silver for me. Now, gold, right now, a lot of what I heard people say, oh my God, $2,500 an ounce. But this is just the beginning. The allocation of gold, particularly among the BRICS countries, some of them, it still has a lot of room to move. That gold can actually triple and quadruple in price in a very short, in the near future. and then not this year perhaps, but in the near future. And I think that's very important, that gold has not reached yet its threshold levels that you can say, oh my goodness, this is what it is. Now I want to cash out. I don't want to buy anymore. It's different right now. I think gold has lots of room to move. I think this is the kind of a last call for everyone to invest in gold before it goes up even further and further. And the same thing goes for silver. But I think what my advice to clients, to investors would be, go to your financial advisor. Find a financial advisor that understands the role of gold and precious metals in your portfolio, and seek the advice there, so you can be protected, so you can diversify your holdings, and also at the same time you can protect yourself and hedge against what is happening, what will be happening.
Okay, I think that sounds like a really good place to wrap it up. Last call on gold and silver. Make sure you do your research and make sure that you're protecting yourself. Any final points that you would share with investors before I let you go?
I think for investors, I would really look beyond our borders to really understand what is happening. What is happening to your dollar and to your money, to your dollar, to your whatever currency you're using, to your gold, to your silver, to your house, to your real estate property. All those things are so interrelated. I think the world right now is in a rapid growth. It's like an evolution of a lot of, motivated by a lot of factors and variables that were coming to some sort of a point, to some sort of a peak over a number of years in all different areas. And our myopic vision, I think, as individuals, brought us kind of blindfolded to the situation that we are facing and will be facing. So it will require a personal discipline to really research and know your history, know your economics, know your politics. And if you don't, have a conversation with someone that does, but someone that does a neutral research, a research that is not biased by the current paradigm. People are really trapped in the current paradigm, and a lot of people are going to be regretting that perhaps when things will change. But a lot of people are going to be very rewarded with their foresight and investing in precious metals, in understanding the fluctuations. Gold is not the investment that is today and you can cash and very quickly be rewarded. It is something that has a strong store value. On daily basis, it fluctuates. I spoke to different people and they say, oh, it goes up and down, $2, $1, this. That's nonsense. If you're going to have a nervous breakdown doing this all day long, I don't know. I have better things to do. But when you look on an annual basis, and the performance of gold is spectacular. And I measured a few masses we spoke last time. It's fantastic. And it will still go up and down because that's the nature of this. So it's normal. But again, the rhetoric is, oh my God, it fluctuates. Oh my, is not, so people are afraid of that. They want to see a steady rise. They don't understand why it fluctuates. And the fluctuations are really not something that should prevent you from looking into this as a safety nest, as a appropriate vehicle to preserve your current level of or preserve your wealth. Not even current, but even if your wealth diminishes, it will never diminish that much if you have a precious metals. So that's my personal opinion. Again, I would defer people to experts in portfolio management and the financial advisors that actually understand gold, understand precious metals. That will be probably the best advice I can give.
I think that's very, very solid advice. Thank you so much for coming on to talk about gold, geopolitics, the markets. Really good to have you on, and hope to have you back again soon.
Thank you. See you, Cheryl.
Of course.
Bye.
Thank you again. And once again, I'm Charlotte McLeod with investingnews.com, and this is Yvonne Blaszczyk with BMG Group. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We'd also love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a comment below.